Alright. Decided to try just picking up a random. This is just a placement ranked game just to play for fun because I'm waiting on the next duos tournament. Standard Russia play for me. I did a rank game and had some not so good luck, but I was able to pull it back off of the loss category and got a win on it just a minute ago. So I played a couple rank games. I think I've played two or three now. I can't remember. I've won them both, so whatever. How many have I played? I've won them so far. So let's see if we can keep the streak alive. I thought about skipping recording this, but you know, it's always fun to see how the dice rolls go. Something like that, at least. Wasn't so fun in that tourney game against Popovich, though. Oh, that's nice. That's okay. eh. Ah, that's not as nice. But we'll take that. Finish it off. There we go. All right. Good result. Whatever even if he gets a hit, it's still good result. We'll take it. I'm satisfied with 6 infantry. All right, now the big one. Good old Ukraine. All right, good. No. All right, that's cool. That's cool. I'll take that. No bomber though, so looks like we're going all in. Looks like a good one to go all in on. There we go. Alright, this is a good result for us no matter what. Happy days. Excellent start to Russia. Feel bad for my opponent. Well, kind of. We're going to hold back because we can. We did good on Russia, so I'm going to leave him back just in case we decide to press the KJF. I didn't do anything silly real quick. Good start to the game for me. So I'm kind of glad I decided to randomly record this ranked game because it's going to be a unique one I haven't done before already, I can tell. So let's see. Germany bought a carrier and bomber with a med carrier is the way they decided to go. I've actually never faced a G1 carrier build. I know they're out there, but I've never done it. So, and I haven't really paid that close attention to what people are talking about to do. So I'm going to be kind of feeling this one out on my own. So feel free to give me comments on as I talk through this of things that maybe, hey, I could have done this or should have thought of that instead. It's a new experience for me. I like the idea, so it's cool. Uh, so combat wise, so yes, let's see. He did take out the cruiser. That was the one thing there. He did a sub fighter for the cruiser. Obviously, the cruiser must have hit the sub, but the fighter lived and he took out the cruiser. And then, of course, he did C Zone 7. Looks like he just had the cruiser live there. Took Karelia, of course, and then he went heavy into Ukraine with 7 infantry, 5 tanks. So he only lost, with all that good stuff I had there, evidently only lost 2 infantry. I think, I didn't look, What about? Yeah, he just lost 2 infantry. He didn't even lose a day. No air loss either. So he was able to kill the 3 tanks, artillery, infantry, and AA, and only lost the 2 infantry. So a pretty decent comeback. So he led to the double mini stack, which is pretty dangerous. It's always tricky by itself with the double stack, mini stack between Karelia and Ukraine here. So definitely, I had to pause and think about this. And this is one of those times, those that I've tried to coach a little bit, I talk about goals. What are my goals as allies? So first off, first thing we have to decide is this going to be, is this already determined to be a KJF or KGF? Are we already kind of set in our ways? Because that affects our UK1 strat right off the bat. If it's still an open question mark, then I like my normal build with the sub and infantry and then whatever I need to build in the Atlantic, and then wait till Japan goes to make that determination. But as I look at this and I think about this, I don't see how I could pull a KJF off in this case with a G1 carrier. It's too much of a threat that, as I'm going to talk a little bit later, I think it's going to be difficult to drop a UK fleet, which means then they can come right on out to C Zone 13 next time, and they're threatening Washington and UK. And if I'm building U.S. troops down here, then all of a sudden I'm going to stop to build U.S. land, and I just don't think a KJF is going to be doable in this scenario. So right off the bat, I'm thinking KGF. And my sub build is really about helping boost a potential of a KJF. It doesn't hurt the KGF, but it doesn't help it either. So I don't think I need the sub build. So that's one thing I'm just going to say right off the bat. I'm going to skip my sub build down in India. As much as that's the whole reason I've been doing these is to play that out. So then, okay, so what does that mean now? So we're going to do a KGF. So we want in a KGF, we want to, obviously we need to defend Russia early, and then we need to attack Germany and trade with Germany as much as possible, both from the Russian front, but also we need to get the UK US front going up on the western side as quickly as possible and start hitting him on this edge. So that comes to, we want to get a UK fleet down, got to get the US fleet down. Normally we're looking at a Med Shuck. I think we are still going to kind of come down here in the Mediterranean just to deal with these guys one way or the other. So, and then of course, obviously then trying to work our way in until we get to Berlin. So the interesting points about this, the defense means all our Eastern Front defense lines here from Africa, Egypt, TJ, all the way on up, at least through West Russia. Since he's only got infantry here, Arch isn't super critical right now that we could leave that empty, and it's not a big deal. But we need to think about defending West Russia, Caucasus, TJ in particular, and be able to plug Egypt so that he can't just pour right into southern Africa. And then at the same time, we want to be thinking of how quickly we can start picking at Germany on the Western Front. Now, what does this carrier mean and the fighters here mean? That means these fighters can hit TJ, Egypt, they can hit Caucasus, they can even go 3 and then hit West Russia, all in here. They also can 1, 2, 3 hit C Zone 8 and then land in one of these 2 areas, and of course C Zone 13. They can even hit C Zone 23 with the carrier coming out. So they're hitting all this water here, plus this guy, plus the bomber he built, is all hitting the oceans along here from 8, 13, 23. So those are going to be sticky C zones, pretty much dead zoned C zones right off the bat. So C Zone 8, the consideration is, okay, what about dropping the carrier, destroyer? C Zone 8, we've got these 2 guys. We got the bomber, we got this guy, we got these guys. So we've got the 5 fighters and a bomber and a cruiser if we didn't attack the cruisers versus 2 destroyers, a carrier, and 2 fighters. Obviously, I'm planning on using the destroyer to take out the cruiser, but that still leaves 6 units between 5 fighters and a bomber versus the 4 of the carrier destroyer build. Possibly, maybe that's a good play. It's a little more than I like. 5 versus 4, I got no problem with. 6 versus 4 makes me a little squeamish. So we could drop them in C Zone 7, and that would be relatively safe because none of these guys can touch C Zone 7. Only the 2 fighters and 1 bomber. So C Zone 7 is we could drop into C Zone 7. But let's look at this front here. When we look at this front, and I'll even start down here in the southern aspect. So now he's got 2 tanks here. So normally I pull everything back to TJ and leave the Egypt open because if they blitz through, I'll be able to hit him with the infantry here and some air and whatnot. However, in this case, he could blitz 2 tanks to TJ, an infantry tank coming on transport, 2 fighters, the battleship, and the bomber all hitting TJ, which means that's a pretty heavy strike right there if we leave Egypt completely empty. And what I did do is go, okay, so how many fighters can I get into TJ to help support TJ? Well, the answer to that is if I want to try to keep West Russia and Caucasus, then the answer is 0. Because I'm going to need this fighter and these 2 fighters and Russia's 2 fighters all to be in West Russia, and then Russia's tanks in Caucasus in order to be able to hold these 2. So now I'm getting to the tough situation of I can't drop a fleet and protect West Russia and Caucasus and TJ. So which of these is the least important to me? And I'm sure there's different answers. I'm sure different people have different parts in there. But as far as order of importance in this round, in round 2, 1 to 2, I think West Russia is priority number 1. Caucasus and TJ being 2. Really, actually, probably TJ being 2 and Caucasus right behind it as a very close 3. And then dropping a fleet being 4. And why did I say that? Well, that's because he built a bomber and a carrier, which means he only built 5 infantry. And I'm looking at this Ukraine battle, and I see no way I can avoid not, taking this Ukraine battle. In other words, I have to take this battle, I believe. So I'm going to be taking out 5 infantry, and he only built 5 infantry, so he's going to get very low on infantry pretty quick here on this front. So I really need to just survive the initial attacks, I believe, and then get on. So although it means I will not be hitting his western front, and he can push most everything going this direction, I think it's going to be the Atlantic Fleet is my lowest priority, actually. My priority is getting here and defending this front up here. So at the end of the day, my calculation says I can drop 6 fighters in West Russia, 3 Russian tanks in here, send what I can to attack Ukraine, and if everything goes as average in Ukraine, then I can defend those. I can leave 1 infantry here, pull back into TJ. I still have to survive a infantry, tank, battleship, 2 fighter, bomber hitting into TJ. So what I'm going to have to do is actually use my transport to bring 2 infantry on over to TJ, which means the transport's going to die. I'm going to have to sacrifice the transport here. I got a feeling I'm going to move them up into C Zone 17 to die. I haven't really decided. Maybe I'll leave them in 34. Let Japan do their thing. But I was thinking coming up here, then, Germany has to figure out what they're going to do, decide, how they're going to use all their different air, or if they want to move their fleet into 17. I don't know. I haven't decided that part. We'll figure that out when I get to it. That's a small point, but the transport's going to have to die in order for me to drop units and to TJ to help support it. So, there we go. So I'm going to build 2 artillery, 1 infantry, and 2 fighters. I'm going to put the 2 fighters up here. We're going to bring the artillery infantry here, help kind of to defend in this area. Obviously, he's going to be setting up to put a lot of Germany pressure here as well as Japan pressure here, and I'm probably going to have to decide, do I defend Africa or do I defend India? We'll make that decision as we see what all Japan does and brings, but I got a feeling that's what we're going to be facing is that decision point. So, here we go. Let's see, attack-wise. I don't think there was a whole lot of attacks other than taking these guys out, taking the good old transport out. I think I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice this transport. I debated using the tank, but I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice the transport to grab France. I know that's 10 IPC versus gaining 6 and maybe a point kill, 7 to 9 max return on the on it, 7 or 6 minimum return versus a 10 cost. But that means he's using one of his planes to see zone 8 to take out the transport, and presumably one of his planes and 2 ground going this direction, which means they are not heading to the eastern front, and it's going to delay those ground units 2 turns to getting to the eastern front. And like I said, he's going to run thin here fairly quickly, I think, and he's going to have less options. Him using 1 air, if not 2 air, to take care of these 2 areas is going to let me be able to breathe a little bit easier on my defenses and feel a little more comfortable with what I'm planning right now, and how Ukraine battle goes. Oh yes, do we need to still make sure we take care of this guy, the destroyer transport. Just double checking, making sure I'm not forgetting anything before I hit the go button. Very good. Always like to see this get done in 1 round. Don't need to sweat multiple rounds here. There we go, good. Now, without my sub build, and that means I'm not going to be bringing these guys this way, that means he can choose to take my carrier out here. I could land my fighter there, but that means he's not going up this way. So the only good news is I'm going to go ahead and bring the destroyer down here. So if he wants to use his 2 fighters to take out the destroyer carrier, then at least I got some defense there. Like I said, we're actually going to pull these guys. I may decide to move the transport in there. I still haven't really thought too heavy on that. I'll do that on my own time. I'm not going to think too heavy right now for that, but we are going to bring our UK Air Force on into West Russia. It still leaves me enough that I can pull them back in if I need to, not a big deal. But also it gives me the opportunity to reinforce into the Middle East as needed. They can come back. He can't attack India this turn. This is going to leave me 2 infantry, 2 artillery, fighter, bomber, 6 units. He could put 3 and bring 2 units in with his transport down here, but he's not going to take that. So we'll be good there. No, this is one. I kind of like leaving the 3 guys here. And even leaving the one there can be an annoyance for Japan. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave it empty this time and just have him pick up these guys. I may regret that later, that I don't have even that 1 infantry for a quick, easy attack on the coast. We'll see. I normally pick up the New Zealand guy. All right, so that's going to be my turn. Real quick, I'm just going to think about whether it's a big deal if I leave the transport here or here. He's going to die regardless. Do I want Japan reaching or do I want Germany reaching? And I'll figure it out shortly. Okay, excuse me. So here we go. Again, this is a game where they had the G1 carrier. Looks like it's gonna be kind of interesting, as this puts a lot of different pressures that I just haven't played before, so it's just interesting. That being said, I wasn't really thrilled with the J1 turn, so we may, maybe they'll prove me wrong, but the purchase was a bomber, one transport, 1 destroyer, 1 infantry. I'm very much a heavy person. It's a KGF likelihood 3 transports, even in KJF likely 3 transports, at least 2 transports. He's going to be very slow getting units to the mainland with no factory or extra transports built here, so he's going to be a little bit slower than usual. He's got 1 transport up here in Alaska, so he has 0 pressure is what all that boils down to on India to coincide with the German pressure that he was creating. I would have liked to have seen him been coming down here and putting pressure on India for me to have to worry about. That being said, who knows? I'm sure he probably has some sort of other plans up his sleeve, so I don't want to downcast him by any ways. But it does mean that the pressure isn't as harsh to get it back to India as far as I'm concerned now. Okay. So I'm going to go for US. I do have we let Pearl survive, so I got those units as well. We'll see. I'll probably go ahead and send I'll send the 1 fighter that way at least, but we're also going to keep some units kind of back just to be able to, in case he decides to do some sort of Alaska move here, which is a possibility. So we'll have a little bit of defense for that. We still have the UK units if he does something, and again, he only has 2 transports, so he doesn't have a lot of flexibility for that. So, anyways, I thought about going a 3 transport buy and start transporting AAs right off the bat. But I went ahead and built a destroyer. Obviously he's shown that he's going to be willing to buy a bomber, a carrier, G1. He's buying a bomber, a destroyer. That I really don't like the destroyer buy. I don't know why he'd need a destroyer, but the destroyer buy. So, I guess that prevents me from attacking here and taking us transport with the fighter, but he could have just put the transport down in C zone 60. Anyways, we will go with it from here. No real combats to be had. Normally I'm trying to hit something here, but I'm not going to have anything to really strike at on this turn, so non-combat. Of course, if I came to Z Zone 2, bomber could reach me, so I'm not going to do that. Like we already said, 8, 13, and 23 all have good defenses as well, so we're just going to bide some time, set up. I'm going to move an AA up here just in case that tank needs to come back to Alaska. I still got something for the transport to take. It's like having him over there. early move people make. They'll keep the fighter on the carrier, but why? It does absolutely no good there. Might as well get him as far forward as we can. Central USA means he can get all the way to the European states, or African states next turn. Um, this part's an interesting part. I'm not really setting up to kill the Med Fleet US2 because, well, it's because he's got the carrier in there too. So I think we're just gonna bring the bomber on this way. Counting, I gotta remember he's counting on being in there. We're gonna have our fighters coming in there. Now I'm down. Oh, so this cruiser, I almost always bring the cruiser to C Zone 12, and I decided to go ahead and do it still this time, acknowledging the fact that he could send his bomber and land in Morocco. He could send his fighter and land in Morocco. He could send the two fighters and bring his fleet out to 13 and land in there. But I'm hoping to keep all my units close enough and tight enough that if he comes out here, I'll wipe them out. So that wouldn't be a real smart move. And if he wants to risk a bomber fighter versus a cruiser, give me a 50-50 chance on shooting one of his air out, I'll take it. So uh, I'm going to go ahead and stick him on out there. We'll creep up just a little bit. I still want to have C-Zone 64 in range so he doesn't just send a free transport by itself. So now it's really coming down to where do I want my fighter placements to be. I've got one coming in from here. He could go 1, 2, 3. If he takes that transport, then I would have to land on the carrier. So if I had ones on carriers, they could go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I really want to have to go ahead and have 2 on the carrier. I was thinking about leaving another one over here in Canada to be able to strike Alaska, but we'll have an infantry and a fighter that could strike Alaska, plus the infantry tank of UK. So we'll just be happy with that, I guess. I believe that's it for the US. Now, Russia by. Remember, I had a few extra units. I mean, granted, I only killed 2 of his coming back. He didn't build as many artillery infantry as you would expect on a G1, so I think I got a little bit of flexibility because I could do, what is it, the 8 infantry, 1 artillery, and get me 9 ground units, or I can go ahead and build 4 and 4. And since I'm going to use both my artillery attacking Ukraine, I'm going to go ahead and go with the 4-4, get some artillery back into the mix, and sacrifice 1 unit of build. Gonna let Russia get the free points. Let's see. I actually wrote some notes this time, so I think I need one more here. I think this is the attack I was looking for. 922. So 10, 19, 29. This is yeah. I'm gonna take a second. I'm gonna just double check before I actually do the attack here. Make sure I didn't forget something silly here. So yeah, no, I think this is what I wanted to do. It leaves me enough units I can defend West Russia and Caucasus. This one's actually one that got a little bit difficult because these fighters could go 1, 2, 3, 4, and these fighters could go 1, 2, 3, and then land on a carrier. So he actually has 4 fighters and a bomber, plus the battleship that could leave here. It leaves this battle a little thinner than I'd like. So if we're gonna lose the battle or we can't take it with at least one ground unit surviving, then we're going to need to retreat to West Russia and just give up Caucasus as it boils down to it. Which was another good reason for building 8 units, because I can put them all into Moscow if that's the case. So hopefully that doesn't come to that, but it might be the concession. He won't be able to stack it at least, but he might be able to take it for a turn. Unlikely. Well, we'll see. I could have brought a tank in too to make it more likely, but then I wouldn't have been able to defend both Caucasus and West Russia because of the carrier build, actually. So let's get 4 hits. That'd be fantastic. There's 1, 3, 4. All right, 3 hits. Ooh, okay. Well, that looks nice. I mean, we're gonna press on that. Oh, I thought we could maybe even get a strafe, but this is gonna be hard on them regardless. I mean, yes, he'll be able to take that, but this bloodbath is gonna favor the Allies going back and forth in Ukraine. I'm gonna give him Arch for free this turn, just to make sure that we get everything else protected. I'm just pull them all out. We'll let him have that one. It's not like he's gonna blitz and hit my 4 infantry. Gonna be a little careful here in case he decides to take the odds on this 4-3, these 7 units. You know what? No, I'm not. We are gonna make this 2 and 2. And there we go. See what he's. Alright, so game continues on. Germany bought 10 infantry and a fighter, so he now has 6 fighters and a bomber on the board. His placement of his air force, though, means only 3 could reach here. 2 fighters and a bomber can reach C Zone 8. Nothing can, I mean, just the bomber, excuse me, can reach C Zone 7. And yeah. So, well, okay, technically these guys could reach it and land in Northwest Europe, but if I bring a US transport over and take NWE, that means that we've only got to worry about the 3. So I can build just a carrier and potentially bring a destroyer in if I want, or I can just build a carrier up here and have the 1 fighter, and all I have to worry about is a bomber. Part of that is I need to figure out here is whatever I move to 13, are they going to be safe from him? Which he could have 2 fighters reach there, bomber reach there, nothing else because I'll take Morocco. So really it's only 2 fighters and a bomber that can reach C Zone 13, so I don't need that destroyer. I can move that destroyer into here and let the A build a carrier and take the 2 here. Meanwhile, I'm looking at trying to set up how I want to work on looking to finish these guys off. It might mean I end up not doing my normal US2 to Norway though, um, just because I really think I want to have 3 transports come down here so that he doesn't come back with a, because I'll have one have to land in Morocco to make this green so that the Germans can't land here, fighters coming from Berlin. And then my fighters, I want to get as much on the Gibraltar and on this side and in the carrier as possible so that I can potentially take this fleet out next turn if at all possible. So we've got 1 fighter here, 2 fighters here. We got a fighter up here, so that's 4 fighters. We got a bomber, and we got a 5th fighter down here. Now this fighter's gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4 into India, and so if I hold on to TJ, he can go 1, 2, 3 and land back in TJ. If they move up here, he could go 1, 2, 3 and land in here. So he could help with these 2 guys. As well as the C-Zone 15 as a 4 and sending a carrier fighter on through. So really, they'll be able to get all our fighters to cover these 3 zones at the end of U.S. turn. Now I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I do need to plan that because I'm also looking at, well, can I get my UK stuff set up? The tricky part here, of course, is the fact that he went ahead and into Egypt here. And I had been hoping to be able to not have to sacrifice my transport to get these guys in here so that I could use a transport to jump 2 guys over in an attack. But unfortunately now we can't do that. So now we've got a 4-1-1 and a bomber versus his 4 and 3. So 7v7, but obviously he's got a little bit better attack power in there. I'm thinking I'm going to probably take that for 1 turn. At least 1 round of dice and see what happens. And then we'll have to decide what we're going to do. We don't really want to give up TJ because then he's going to be coming through the Suez. But I also don't really want to just let all 7 of these units run down in Africa because that'll mean more U.S. troops I need to divert down towards Africa then. And I really want to get allies going up here because he is very thin on troops. He's down to 2 tanks and just all these scattered infantry throughout. So I really want to get pressure on Europe. I don't want to be dealing with so much down here. So I'm going to try my dice there and see what happens. At least 1 round. And then we'll figure out the defensive planning after that finishes up. The good news is with Japan, his only 2 transports are way up here, so he's not going to have a lot of pressure coming onto India. So we're going to have a little bit of freedom of movement down here, so to speak. All right, so purchasing for myself. Oh yeah, for some reason he didn't attack France. I was kind of surprised by that. See, I don't even need the destroyer. I don't even need US to come take it because I can use him. That's right, to move on up there. So, still use the destroyer here, but I can still send my transport up there to Norway or down to Africa. So, we got options. Okay. So, buying 3 infantry for India, not air. I'm going to go ahead and buy 2 transports right away. I mean, he's giving me the opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and build them. And then a carrier for the UK. So, I just got to protect against 3. I'll decide if I want to put both fighters or just 1 fighter. I'll probably put both fighters with a destroyer or maybe 1 with a cruiser. We'll see. But that's where we're at. I mean, it's huge that he's letting me build 2 transports on UK instead of having to build 1 and then take 1 thing and then another. So at least UK will be able to start putting some pressure on the Western Europe side here. Alright, fingers crossed on this one. As long as we get as many hits as they get. Okay. Take out that guy. go ahead and just do this, even though it gives them France back free. But I like not having to sacrifice my U or use my U.S. transport for it. So I like that freedom of having for U.S. turn. You guys can really hit anything that's good for me to hit right now. So good news is Russia, I plan on just trying to take all of this back if I can. Really start thinning him down and pressuring back into Germany. Alright, implausible Egypt. Let's get 3 or 4 hits on offense. That'd be fantastic. Yeah. Hits. 2, 3. Okay, 3 hits. Whiff. 3 for them. That leaves 4 and 4. Let's see what we can do. 2 of them. Down to 2 tanks. Ooh. Really wasn't counting. I was hoping I could get 1 left, and then I can go from there. Alright, well we got him down to 2 tanks. I'm going to use these guys to plug any blitz in. Enough there to 4, 6, 7 plus the battleship. Still get them the ability to reach over here. Let's see what that looks like real quick. Although that is really stretching out my India defense here. Said he doesn't have much attack going, so I can. But I want to be a little bit careful. Some Russian tanks down here too. Let's see what this looks like. Bomber sitting out vulnerable though. Alright, I'm going to end the video here. The only thing I just want to sit down and kind of think about this, because I can bring some Russian tanks in here or air, but I also need to calculate what I want to be using for all of this. I mean, thankfully I got these guys coming back and not a whole lot of just some ones up here, so I'm going to just double check this, see if this is really defensible, because if I can hold this and prevent him from taking it and be able to squeeze his fleet through, then the Americans will be coming and Americans will be able to kill the fleet before they can get out. So if they can't go through if he can't capture it on G3, then let's see. So we're gonna have let me think this through. So US2, we're gonna come to here. We're gonna have 5 fighters and a bomber surrounding him, but we want to hold TJ for the fighter to be able to hit there. That's right. So I'm going to sit down. I'm going to look at this TJ a little bit closer. Of course, he's got 2 infantry, 2 tanks, these 2 fighters, the battleship, as well as this bomber that can reach there. So that's a lot of firepower there that can still reach there. So I'm going to do some adding up, count that up, and see what that really looks like before I hit the finalize button. All right. So let's go on to US2 here. Japan bought 4 infantry, a bomber, a transport, and an artillery. So that now gets him up to 3 transports because he went and took Alaska here with the battleship destroyer, so I'm not doing anything about that. Well, hopefully I can do something about the ground units, but, you know, we're not going to take out that transport, obviously. He's got his 1 transport there, otherwise moving in. Again, as far as, you know, one of the first things is threats to India. You know, presumably we're going to kill this 1 infantry, so that leaves him a transport with 2 infantry, 6 fighters, 2 bombers, a battleship cruiser, and again, if we take that, we don't have to worry about that last bomber, but we do need to be mindful that that bomber can reach it if we don't take out Burma. So, meanwhile, we gotta remember we're trying to stuff up, excuse me, TJ over here, and to do that, we need to add at least another bomber and a fighter, and I still haven't really thought through my entire Russia move yet, because that might affect what we do as well. Go through deciding what all we're going to do there. So, for the US, I think I am going to backtrack, use my fighter, my infantry, my tank to attack his infantry artillery. Hopefully kill him, and hopefully take the territory, but at least wipe it so they can't hit Alaska or West USA, and let the UK walk in. Turn if need be. The other considerations, that means I got 1 less fighter coming over here, so I really want to get into Sea Zone 13. I also like to take Norway, so we're going to run a little bit thin here. We're going to test his fortitude for coming in through here, I guess, and see what it looks like. So yeah, this could be interesting. We shall see. So purchase-wise, I'm looking to get in 6 infantry, 2 artillery. I bought a few extra ground so that I can stick them in West USA if things don't go super well as planned. And we also have a couple transports in there. I like to get 2 transports a turn with the US until I get up to at least 8, if not 10 transports going in there. Somewhere between 8 and 10 is where I always end up. So we're going to sacrifice 1 of these. So we're going to be at 4, plus the 2 will get us to 6. So I have at least 1 more round of buying 2 transports, if not 2 more rounds. Go. Like I said, I am going to sacrifice the 1 US transport, because after this, hopefully the UK is coming up here and sealing Finland, Norway. So if US can hold on to it, that's great, because I'd like to put a US factory there if the US can hold on to it. So I like to go ahead and sacrifice that transport for what it's worth. Some guys on down here. Let's see. I need to get this fighter down into TJ, so I can't really take him over here to do anything. So we're just gonna have to continue to concede to Japan for the time being. Nothing really the sub can do, although we do need to be mindful of the fact that the destroyer can now reach him, so we're going to have to back out a little bit. Fighter's going to be coming up. Use the bomber, because I'm hoping to secure that at some point. Got nothing else going. Go ahead and bomb Berlin. Oh, almost forgot about my Alaska here. So that's going to let me bring in infantry and artillery to Gibraltar. Yeah, infantry, artillery, and then an infantry AA gun in there. So can also land a couple of fighters in there because I got to watch out for the fighters. He can only get 2 fighters at Gibraltar, right? So 1, 2, 3 land on the carrier, or 1, 2, 3 land on the carrier. So you can only get 2 fighters, this bomber, the battleship, and then 2 ground. You know, the infantry, artillery, or potentially an infantry tank, but I don't think he'd do that. But infantry, artillery to hit there. So with an AA, 3 infantry, and a couple fighters, that makes Gibraltar a double-digit profitable battle for the Allies. And I think we can still get enough U.S. boats into 13 to protect from the bomber 2 fighter attack between 2 destroyers, cruiser, and carrier. So I think we're looking okay there. Let's keep these good dice against Germany going. Bombing run of 6 would be great right about now. No bomber sacrifices, not yet at least. Alright, now let's get that 6 hit. Close enough, I'll take the 5. Alright. I really would like to wipe out both these units so that I don't have to worry about anything on the West USA side. There we go. There we go, we'll take that. Start on this side. Bring him down. All these zones are captured by him, so stay in 44 just to keep some range there. So bringing up here, they can still come down to 24 if the tanks break through, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. So I'm going to let these 2 fighters carrier hold for themselves against the 2 fighter bomber. Box there. Right. 4 boats versus 3 planes. 6 units versus 2 ground and 3 planes and a battleship, so I'm happy with those. I forgot he can't get over to TJ now, so we'll have to go here. Come on down there, though. I like that they now can do a pretty big full zoomed out. I'd always miss those little units like that fighter down there. Now we don't really have to worry about West USA too much, although he may continue to try to do some attacking there, so we'll be mindful of it. I hope to bring maybe one transport back. So we need 4 more units for our transports. That one can go up to meet transport coming back with the AA. So let's get these 2, 4. That's what we need as a minimum. Make up for that AA. We'll put 2 men over here. Alright, back to the Russia-Germany bloodbath going on. We're getting ready to use our artillery again, so I'm going to go ahead and max out my artillery again to keep some artillery on hand. So he's got 5 units coming in. I gotta decide if I want to leave one so that he can't just blitz the tank through, or if I want to bring him to here. We'll figure that out. We got time on that. Big question here is, what all do I need to kill these guys? I'm pulling up the calculator over here on the side real quick, just because I honestly don't know how much I need there. I know we want the 3 infantry, 2 artillery at the very least. At 5 units enough to take the forward? Do I need to go ahead and sacrifice one of those tanks? That's the question. So that gives us a 62%. I really think I want to go ahead and use a tank in there. Question is, do I want to switch my fighters up with the tank? Thinking, what if we use this fighter? 1, 2, 3, 4. He can still come down here, support there, and use the tank to go up that way. I haven't decided whether I use fighters or tanks to come back, but I do need a little bit more help to TJ still, unfortunately. Just to be on the safe side. I don't want to give up something silly there. As it stands right now, calculator says they only have an 18% chance of winning with an 8-point profit for the defense. So maybe that's enough. Maybe we'll just let the Russians stay up in Russia. There we go. Nice. Nice. Like that. So again, being a KGF, I'm fairly happy trading Russian units for German units. Now I gotta watch out that Japan doesn't sneak up too fast, but with the slow transport development, they're not gonna be creeping up too fast on me. Ouch. Blow for blow, blow for blow, blow for blow. He wants to keep going blow for blow in Ukraine. I will continue to go blow for blow. So, I think I'll bring him back. But if I'm going to leave my tanks here so they can still support down into India or TJ, they can still reach all the front lines here. I don't need them in West Russia. I think I might just go ahead and keep the fighter up here. No reason to risk him, I'm thinking. Again, he's getting low on units here as well. He's got 19 infantry and 1 tank for his ground units here. So I'm sure he'll take Karelia, but he's getting thin. I'm going to have my 7 ground, or whatever that is, 7 units that can attack back here again.